Today I would like to send sincere greetings from the Glencree Centre for Peace and Reconciliation in Ireland to all our friends in India, to the hundreds and millions of members that are working in India and around the world at this particular time to help their people during the COVID-19 crisis. You're all doing amazing work. We stand in solidarity with India, with Dr. Chinmay Pandya, with the Shantikunj, the Dev Sanskriti University in the beautiful Haridwar at this time.
Dr. Chinmay Pandya, I would like to send this message to you and to the whole of the SVV fraternity, staff and students, friends, all world Gayatri Pariwar fraternity. These are times for reflection. We are asking ourselves why, like little children, we become children again. Why work? Why office? Why success? Why money? Why holidays? Why trips? Well, we are all now confined to our homes, and really what matters is family, relations, nature, and God. Saint Josemaria, a saint I admire a lot, told us, begin and begin again. Every time is a new beginning. And of course, we have to fulfill our duty, our everyday duty with great love. And I have a friend who speaks a lot about ordinary work and extraordinary grace. Well, these are the times for ordinary work. We are working from home. We continue doing things virtually. I wish I was there in the Himalayas with you to give you this message personally, but we have to do it virtually, but with extraordinary grace, because God continue giving us all the help, the necessary help. And this coronavirus that has pushed us to the wall, to the test, well, it's a moment perhaps nature gives us to reflect and to cleanse itself, to reflect on why we were doing what we were doing and the reason for our priorities in life. And I'm very happy to have experienced what I experienced there at your campus, because it was an oasis of peace, serenity, and the true meaning of humanity that we should all cherish and somehow guard, because we are the guardians of nature, not the owners of it.
My name is Dr. Vajra Watson. I am the Director of Research and Policy for Equity at UC Davis. And I had the immense privilege and honor of spending time at DSVV. I've heard this moment of COVID-19 described obviously as a crisis of our humanity. But I would also lean and pivot towards the light of it being a place of possibility, a place of rebirth and transformation. And I think if we center ourselves to this moment as a portal, right? As redefining who we want to be and how we want to be.
Dear colleagues, dear friends, I would like to respond to the invitation of my personal friend and great friend of the University of Latvia, Pro-Vice Chancellor of Dev Sanskriti University in Haridwar, Dr. Chinmay Pandya, and to address all of you in this moment of COVID-19 pandemic. Probably everybody have heard positions that this is very difficult situation in our lives, in lives of our country. It's crisis and we should survive this crisis. And after this crisis, only then the real life again will resume. Of course, partially it's true, but I don't think that it's full truth. Equally well, we have heard, in some sense, opposite opinion, that it's a moment of opportunity, that it's opportunity to rethink our lives, maybe to come with new ideas, to spend more time with our families, to pursue our hobbies, for which we didn't have enough time during the previous period in our lives. Probably in the future, again, life will not be a smooth and straight line. Again, there will be ups and downs, there will be crises. And I think that in each moment in our lives actually is a unique moment. And we must be able to find time for important things in our lives, which we personally consider important, of course, to balance it with professional duties and duties in society. And only if we, every moment, including moments like pandemic of virus COVID-19, will be considering as a unique moment, which is not different from all unique moments in the past, which is not different from all unique moments in the future. Only with this attitude, only with this way how to go through our lives, we will have fulfilled lives. We will have lives which will be interesting for ourselves, and we will have lives which will be fulfilling and beneficial for our friends, colleagues, and finally for society in general.
Adarniya Dr. Chinmay Bai and all members of the Gayatri Pariwar, Namaste. It is a pleasure and a privilege to be invited to share my perspectives and reflections on humanity and its future seen from the lens of the present. Until recently, we had a profoundly different sense of ourselves, our communities, our systems of production, and our future. For many of us in the developed world, what has changed most immediately is spatial. In only a short few weeks, our future has become very uncertain. We have stayed home for those of us that have a home and away from contact with others. We have withdrawn from schools, workplaces, conferences, vacations, gyms, errands, bars, clubs, churches, mosques, synagogues, temples, from the hustle and the bustle of everyday life. Our hospitals are overwhelmed. Our loved ones are dying alone. Our funerals are empty experiences, and the global economy has suffered a severe setback. In this era, we have learned a whole new lexicon, such as triaging, social distancing, self-isolation. I have never ever seen a time like this. I have never experienced a phenomena where we are having to stay apart in order to come together. The philosopher mystic Simone Weil once wrote to a faraway friend, "Let us love this distance, which is thoroughly woven with friendship, since those who do not love each other are not separated." We have withdrawn from one another to protect each other. We have never so eagerly awaited a positive result for a disease. Such paradoxes. When I first experienced the impact of the coronavirus from my home city of London, I wasn't sure what to make of it. On the one hand, during some days it felt, and it still feels, like we are at war with an erstwhile enemy that is suddenly everywhere and nowhere, to be felt but not to be seen. A war without missiles and grenades, a war without human soldiers, a war without borders. The army in this war is without mercy. It is without any compassion. It is indiscriminate. It has no respect for children, women, or places of worship. This army is not interested in spoils of war. It is not even interested in religious, ethnic, or ideology. It is only ambition, has nothing to do with racial superiority. It is an invisible, fleet-footed, and ruthlessly effective army. Its only agenda is a harvest of death. It is only satiated after turning the world into one big death field. Its capacity to achieve its aim is never in doubt. Without any movement of hardware and assets, it has a base in almost every country of the world. Its movement is not governed by any war convention or protocol. In short, this army is a law unto itself. All our defenses and nuclear capabilities through which we threaten states and citizens are of no use against this enemy. This war machine is the coronavirus, otherwise known as COVID-19. On the other hand, during other days, it feels like that I am in a storm at sea, which I'm hoping will pass quickly, but it is turning out to be a long storm with very rough seas. In the storm I'm on a boat, but I see many other boats, some bigger than mine, but many the size of a canoe, which are sure to capsize if not rescued. The vista of this vast sea that I see from my window is a beautiful but a deeply thought-provoking kaleidoscope, where for some quarantine is optimal, a moment of reflection, of reconnection, easy in flip-flops with continuous refreshment. For others, it is a desperate crisis. For some, it is facing loneliness, and for others, it's peace, rest time, vacation. For some, it is torture. How am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to feed my family? Yet others have been concerned about a special brand of chocolate for Easter. Some are in their home office. Others are looking through trash in order to survive. Some have experienced the near death of the virus. Some have already lost someone from it. Some are not sure whether their loved ones are going to make it. And others don't even believe this is so big a deal. Some who are well in health and confident of their immunity may end up experiencing it, and others who believe that they are infallible are sure to be blown away if or when this hits them or someone they know. So friends, I'm realizing that while we may be in the same storm, we are definitely not on the same boat. We are going through a time when our perceptions and needs are completely different, and each one of us will eventually emerge in his own way from this storm. Some with a tan from their pool, others with scars on their soul. It's very important to see and listen beyond what is seen and heard at first glance, not just looking and hearing, but much more than that. It is proper seeing and proper listening. I'm learning in this experience not to underestimate the pain of others if I do not feel it. I'm learning not to judge the good life of the one, nor condemn the bad life of the other. I'm learning not to be a judge of the one who lacks, as well as the one who exceeds him. I'm seeing how people leave supermarket shelves empty, buying food, masks, and disinfectants compulsively. I'm seeing acts of racism and discrimination against certain collectives, fearing that they may be infected with the virus. I'm listening to politicians fighting and blaming each other, trying to take advantage of this situation instead of fighting for the common good. I'm experiencing how fear has taken hold of people, bringing out their most selfish side. I'm observing with my own senses how, in order to fight a monster, Some have become monsters. But I also see people who are offering to buy food for the most vulnerable groups. I see people supporting each other through their windows, singing and sharing words of encouragement. Doctors and nurses who have given up their off days and holidays and who take extra turns without barely resting. Assistants working really hard to take care of elders without any type of recognition. Hotels donating beds to hospitals and opening their doors for the treatment of patients, and youth helping those in need in their neighborhoods. From my permitted routine walks, I am breathing clean air and seeing clear skies, such that the evening star shines extraordinarily bright in the western sky. The near absence of traffic has also revealed sounds that were hitherto drowned out for years by the roar of cars and buses. I hear blackbirds singing on Park Lane, the rustling of leaves in Hyde Park, and along the banks of the Serpentine, wild ducks, and in its waters a swan. From our garden I see a vixen raising a family in tranquility. Such sheer bliss. Looking at these vistas, it is the beauty of nature and humanity, and all the good that I see being done, that is imprinted as an everlasting image on my mind. Seeing all this has given me hope, because above all the fear and uncertainty, there is solidarity and kindness in people's hearts. I have no doubt that we will emerge from this crisis. I just hope when all this is over, these beautiful feelings that are growing in people's hearts, these feelings of togetherness that define the most beautiful features of humanity, stay here to never go, because there is still so much to do, and more than ever we must stand united and be together. The power to see and to listen authentically must continue. While cities may slowly come back to life again, there is no going back to normal, and many agree that nothing will ever be the same again. It is not clear, though, what kind of global political order will emerge in the post-corona world. This ordeal has the potential either to bring us closer to one another or turn us into further strangers in an increasingly estranged world. The choices we make will shape not just the geopolitical system and the economy, but also the state of our humanity in decades to come. I have my own views on how global institutional order must change, but I will express them in another format at another time. Suffice to say that the change is paramount and urgently needed. We will need to look at it with a much larger us frame than hitherto. The key will be to provide human security for us all. Global threats like COVID-19 show that none of us is safe until all of us are safe. There are no longer cultural hierarchies, economic immunities, or economic privileges for any region, nation, or country. No country can fight this on its own. Multilateral action and solidarity may sound like a cliché, but it is more urgent than ever to save lives. Whether in Wuhan, New York, London, or inside the refugee camps, protecting the most vulnerable must be the priority. We must remember and cherish our deeper humanity when we care for the elderly, the sick, the needy, and the foreigner. We, after all, are the keepers of our brothers and sisters, and their pain and their suffering is also our own pain and suffering. But this deeper humanity must spread to every street, every neighborhood, every city, and every country if we are to defeat the virus, and this war needs to be fought by all means necessary: scientific, economic, social, security, religious, and kindness. And in fighting this war, we should not lose sight of the fact that this is not about being rich or poor, developed or developing, but about being wise, compassionate, and human. Building higher walls may give the populists and the protectionists a few scores, but cannot ensure safety and security for all. The corona days will pass, but political and religious leaders must lead the way to be vigilant against the viruses of xenophobia, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and other types of racism spreading in our midst. Every natural disaster is nature's attempt to create a new balance. It is a response to what we humans are doing to the harmony of the natural order. This requires an urgent and appropriate response from humankind. This response cannot be just in terms of numbers, statistics, and charts, i.e., just more of what we have been doing for several centuries. This is not going to last and is not sustainable. A deeper understanding is required, which entails a radical reckoning and transformation of the ways in which we interact in the world, with the world, and a deep and urgent review of our connectedness. COVID-19 is a warning that we are not the masters of the universe and the world is not our property. If capitalism and consumerism continue their carnage on the world will give us more viruses, pandemics, and disasters. In conclusion, I want to narrate a beautiful true story of the people of your wonderful country that I was privileged to hear about and watch on video. In the city of Delhi, your capital, lived an octogenarian by the name of Saligram, whose heart sank as he saw the others from his village preparing to walk to it after the nationwide lockdown was announced. Saligram was a resident of Uttar Pradesh's Shravasti district, some 200 kilometers from Delhi. He had had an attack of paralysis a few years back and was therefore paralyzed and unable to walk. He thought that he would be left behind to die. After all, who would want to carry along an old man at a time when there were no buses or trains and everyone might have to walk 200 kilometers or so to reach their village homes? He was wrong. Some enthusiastic youths from his village, of all castes and faiths, prepared a makeshift palanquin with the help of bamboo and bedsheet. Saligram was made to lie on the bedsheet and it was tied with a bamboo pole on both ends. The group that left with Saligram comprised 65 people, including women and children. They were dropped by a truck driver at a place from where the Yamuna Express starts, and from there the group started walking, carrying Saligram in the makeshift palanquin. They took turns in doing so. The group reached Lucknow 5 days after they left Delhi. They were resting on the highway when a senior UP IPS officer by the name of Navneet Sekera, who happened to be passing by, spotted them and stopped. He arranged food for them and also a bus to take them to Shravasti. Members of the group were heard saying, "We could never have left Saligram behind in Delhi. He is from our village. We would not have been able to face others had we left him." All of them were daily wages, barely having enough to survive. The lesson from this is that humanity will prevail, the power of love will always prevail over the love of power, and staying human in the days of the coronavirus is a moral test for us all. Thank you and God bless. Muhammad Mercy.
Namaste. It is a great honor to record this short talk on the current coronavirus crisis on the invitation by Dr. Chinmay Pandya. Dr. Pandya's remarks have urged us all to focus on humanity during this uncertain time, to remember that we are one race, one species, one people. All over the planet, rituals celebrate the frontline caregivers. In Europe and New York City, people each night give out shouts and bang pots and pans to praise the dangerous and selfless work performed by nurses, doctors, and hospital staff. And in India, in a spirit akin to Diwali, people from all faiths have been invited to light a lamp to dispel the darkness that has been brought by this virus. And people all over the world sit with one another now via electronic media, using all manner of software and devices to check in with and support one another. Education and community are being enabled in new ways. Cultural and religious traditions are being rethought to respond to the call for social isolation for the sake of the greater good. In the next few minutes, I'll offer some observations and ideas from the world's religions that might possibly be useful. First, let me start with the obvious for the Gayatri Pariwar community. And with humility, I want to just share that this has been part of my own spiritual sadhana for nearly 50 years. And as we reflect on the Gayatri, we see that we can think about it in terms of its four parts. The opening invocation starts with Om, a reminder of our unity and connection. Bahur reminds us of the earth and the waters, the power of all beings, including viruses, all beings held firm by gravity. Bhuva invokes heat and breath, warmth and wind, the realm of motion and the dynamism of life itself. Swa brings us into space and beyond, circling back and above into the realms of inclusion and transcendence. Tat Savitur Varenyam. These syllables call forth the light of the new day spilling across the horizon, calling birds into song and flight, calling day-waking animals into action, calling the human once more into the rhythm of life. For the past several weeks, the slumber of human activity has been expressed in ways never before. The plains are silent, the roads are still, the hubbub has disappeared. We yearn for the return of the heat and energy of life fully expressed. Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi. We see the effulgence of the light possessed by gods and goddesses, including the power of our very own senses and our organs. Having restrained our activity for these past many weeks, we've built up a reserve of energy. We can anticipate and imagine a return to full engagement with the universe. We remember what was. We feel stillness in the present. We anticipate a revived future. Dio Yona Prachodhyat. We think, we see, we contemplate. We implore that our thoughts be reasonable and well-formed, that our contemplations bear fruit in a way that supports the well-being of all. The virus has cast a shadow of darkness upon the face of humanity. By thinking toward the return of the sun, by remembering that the darkness will be dispelled by the passage of time, we can live with confidence and hope, in the words of Dr. Pandya, with no fear, no despair. In the days ahead, we can draw inspiration from the various stories being told about the heroic healthcare workers making great sacrifices and working long hours. We are all feeling connected in our observance of limited movement, of our covered mouths, of holding back from physically reaching out to touch others. We are in a time of sacred pause, a time of sustained silence. As we cultivate and explore our capacity for patience, we build reserves of energy for our eventual return. By making time for daily meditation, we enter states of repair. And with hope, we prepare for the work that faces us in a new future. Namaste.
Jai Gurudev. Whether we have taken darshan of Param Pujya Gurudev and Vandaniya Mataji directly, whether we have encountered them through their life message and teachings, or whether we engage with our beloved and revered Honorable Dr. Sahab Gigi and Dr. Chinmay Bhai, and our many other distinguished sisters and brothers and elders in Shantikunj and elsewhere, those of us who are privileged to be a part of Gayatri Pariwar have access, it seems to me, to the brightest, most brilliant light in the midst of the unspeakable misery wrought by the present COVID emergency. Today, I catch glimpses of this spirituality in every life saved, in the corrective self-awareness that comes from living in lockdown with one's family, and above all, in the kindness and heroism of frontline workers, the cleaners, purveyors of food and medicine, the doctors and nurses, research scientists, the police, and others delivering essential services, sometimes at great risk to themselves. Our communities, religious and NGOs in particular, are showing feats of immense charity and care. I'm so proud that millions of Gayatri Parijans and thousands of Gayatri Pariwar centers the world over, for instance, are donating to healthcare providers, offering meals to the hungry and dispossessed, and contributing to national welfare services to the benefit of countless peoples, regardless of their background. When combined with the outreach of churches, mosques, synagogues, and gurudwaras, these efforts are monumental. Yet, as powerful and vital as relief efforts are, they alone may not permanently transform the reality of our situation. We need the masses to wake up to a very basic cornerstone of Gayatri Pariwar, that humanity as a single family unit can be destroyed by the weakness of any one of its constituent parts, or it can become ever stronger, more resilient and more potent if its members recognize their duty of care and indeed love for one another and the habitat we share with other species. That should become the new normal. The global trauma of coronavirus too needs to impel a new leadership, one that is spurred by the ongoing sacrifice and suffering of billions to ensure we live differently and in harmony with one another and the environment. To do this, we need a mobilization of humankind beyond the boundaries that have traditionally divided us. It is my prayer that some of you will be the leaders who ensure that the legacy of COVID is not more destructiveness, but the very realignment of the world order itself. And in this, I should like to leave you with the holy words of Param Pujya Gurudev himself. When there are floods and epidemics, nothing short of public cooperation works. Scriptures have referred to such mass movements of the past as Yug Parivartan, epochal transformation or incarnation of divinity. Great revivals of this magnitude are also called grand revolutions, Mahakranti. Revolutions emerge as a struggle against undesirable elements. In not too far a future, a new generation of visionary torchbearers, vibrant talents, and spirited volunteers devoted to the noble cause of global reconstruction is going to emerge from among us that will dwarf the achievements of the past. Jai Guru.